Welcome to another episode of Bourbon and Rum. This is a podcast of two brothers from opposite ends of the spectrum. My name's Kent. I'm a rum drinker, and I'm from the left side of the aisle.
And I'm Kyle. I like bourbon, tend to be a little more conservative. Join us as we explore this experiment. Can two brothers from different sides of the political spectrum have a civil conversation and celebrate our differences?
Well, hey, everyone. Before we dive in, we got a little anniversary update for you. Bourbon and Rum turned 1 this week, and we celebrated with our first ever giveaway. If you're listening on release day, August 28th, the giveaway is officially wrapped up, and we have a winner. Huge thanks to everyone who entered, commented, and celebrated with us. Your support means the world.
Well, hey, apparently I'm drinking alone tonight, and that's okay. I got out of my small town and was able to get some interesting and different stuff lately. So I've got a whole backlog of stuff to share with you. Tonight I'm drinking Navy Bay dark Jamaican rum.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not as funky as some dark, like Jamaican style rums. It's Jamaica. I've made before the distinguishing between English style, Spanish style, French style rums. Jamaican is English, but more dark and funky than even others. If you think about Myers rum, which is just really syrupy and strong flavored. This isn't like that, but it's pretty good. And again, I'm reminded of the economy of rum because I bought 3 bottles, including one that's like an XO aged and I was out of the store for less than $100. So
wow, that's
you
great.
Can't beat that.
Well, I am just drinking coffee with creamer tonight because I'm staying at a hotel down South Florida. It's a nice view from the hotel, but unfortunately the lobby's under construction and there's no lobby bar, so I'm boozeless for the night.
Well, how you doing? What's the latest?
Yeah, doing good. I joked I'm down here in South Florida, and you were talking about. I think you'd brought up the alligator Alcatraz as a comment, and I said, well, it's only about an hour away. I should have gone out there and I could have broadcast live from the parking lot.
Yeah. Well, I did raise it. I've tried to not sound shrill at all of my complaints, but I got to say, like this weekend, it's just kind of, so I'm going to vent a little bit and I'm going to tell you some of my complaints and maybe you can set me straight and tell me why this is all fine and no cause for alarm. I just keep seeing things that really undermine democracy. And I think it's a problem. And I guess I'm going to ask you to experiment to put my hat on or, a different label, because I think you tend to dismiss a lot of this as just, Trump derangement or I just hate things. But I've got to tell you, a couple of things converged that really, I thought that the targeting by the FBI of John Bolton's home was kind of outrageous. And there's really nothing to explain the timing of that other than that he annoyed Trump and Trump wanted to slap him. Am I wrong? Do you see something different there?
Well, he was an employee of the National Security Agency. His clearance was revoked, so it is possible law enforcement had probable cause for a search.
It's possible. Is the timing of that? I mean, was it just coincidence, you think?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. We talked about alligator Alcatraz. Well, okay, I'm going to pass on that one because I need to have another little bit more rum and be a little more inflamed before I tell you what I actually think about that.
Well, I'd love to counter you before you get too inflamed. Number one, it's not a federal facility. It's a state facility. Number two, a judge has ordered it to be um, closed and injunctions against it. As of today, in a capacity of 2,000 people, there's 340 people there. The detention centers under the Obama administration were about 4 times as many detention centers, about 4 times as many detention beds, because he was actually deporting at a pace much more rapid than Trump. A lot of people counter a problem with Trump that he's not deporting as fast as he could, certainly not as fast as Obama did at the height of his administration. These detention centers are needed because there is a process for deportation, but it's kind of one of those things. If you sent somebody a telegram in the mail and you said, "Hey, you're being considered for detention and deportation," good luck tracking that individual down and deporting them. So, hence the reason they put them in the detention center and then they process them. Most of those people are there for less than 90 days. But many of those detention centers that were open during the Obama era, some of them started getting closed by Obama because he started taking heat from the left. And the famous families in cages photo that was attributed to Trump was actually in 2014 with Obama. So he was starting to get heat for that. So he started closing detention centers. Biden closed more detention centers. And so now you got a situation where you're trying to deport people and you don't have enough detention centers. So Florida and each of the states winds up having to contribute facilities. And Florida's got to come up with different facilities. The solution they came up with was this abandoned airport out in the Everglades. But I guess my point is, if I can put my thinking cap of where you were going, you compared it to a concentration camp, and it's like, number one, it's not Trump creating the center. It was a state-run center to deal with the fact that they don't have enough detention centers. Now you could say, bad on him because he's deporting people without enough detention centers. But I think that's a separate argument that, they're creating concentration camps. I think that's a little nutty.
Well, okay, so a couple things for that. First of all, I want to state for the record, and I think I've been consistent about this. I'm not opposed to deporting people that are here illegally. I'm not. I think though that it needs to be, and I wasn't opposed to Obama deporting them. I'm not opposed to border enforcement. And it is a frustration to me that the Biden administration wasn't better about that. But none of that warrants inhumane treatment of people, number one. I think I know exactly how you're going to come at me when I say this, but I have to tell you, the the reason it feels like a concentration camp is because Trump paints immigrants of all stripes as they're rapists and they're murderers and they're eating the dogs. Like the rhetoric that he uses, I agree, it isn't, first of all, the fact that Trump didn't build is not necessarily making me feel better about it, because I think that DeSantis is a Trump wannabe and is trying to impress the boss by trying to make something mean and evil.
Some of the
The,
worst
the,
detention centers in history were in Democrat states, i.e., New Mexico and the Obama administration. Just
well,
saying. I don't know
yeah,
that there's a grand conspiracy to, you know,
when you choose to characterize people like this, and then people like me look at this and you say, we didn't start this because, well, we're concerned about the ratio of people and we want to get people back to their homes. And so we want to do it right. No, when your lead argument is they're eating the dogs and they're rapists and murderers coming. And so we're looking for rapists and murderers at Home Depot because they're looking for work. No, this is just one, so I'm putting this on there. You make a valid point. I'm not going to disagree with that. I just, yeah, it looks and feels like concentration camps because Trump talks about people like people who build concentration camps talk about people. It looks a lot like what happened in Nazi Germany. And if it's and the
I think
facts don't line that up, that's okay. I'll hear you.
I,
You picked the
I just
language. You picked the rhetoric.
I think that's a sad, commentary towards somebody who survived a concentration camp to see somebody getting 3 square meals a day in a detention center for 90 days is being comparable to Auschwitz.
Fair enough. And I, first of all, want to make a bright line that I'm not comparing this to Auschwitz, which was not a concentration camp. It was a systematic death camp. And I'm not accusing that that's what's happening. I just, I hear you talk about this and you describe it in kind of sanitized and sort of neutral terms. And I can believe that from you because you don't start every conversation about people that are immigrants with this dehumanization, this bullshit about they're all rapists and murderers. Trust me, if there's 10 million of them here, they're not all rapists and murderers. And they didn't come here to rape and pillage. They came here to work at Home Depot. So the rhetoric that this administration has chosen colors the way that I see their actions.
Well,
And if that's a failure on my part, I'll admit it.
no, it makes sense. I would just argue that it's the characterization of the comments based on your perspective. Because, again, I've heard Trump on more than one occasion talk about immigrants and how there's many hardworking immigrants that are coming across the border. There's obviously a lot of people that are committing crimes as well. I've heard him use those same words.
Send me a soundbite, seriously.
Well, but you wouldn't believe it, and you wouldn't listen to it because your mindset has, 2014, 2015 when he was running for office, and he said they're not sending their best people, and that's where you went. But I think he was also reacting to a huge chunk of the population that saw the dark side of immigration. So,
moving on. Deploying troops in the streets of Washington, D.C. And I'll give you Washington, D.C. because at least it's federal territory.
But not Chicago. Oh, well, so you're not doing it in terms of the need. You're saying in terms of because it's a federal district.
Well, I'm saying that a tin horn dictator who happens to be the leader of the government that governs DC at least has that claim to legitimacy that the federal government is responsible for District of Columbia. So what about marching troops to Chicago? You good
so
with
is
that?
Does the federal government, so okay, right now there's 150 people getting shot a weekend in Chicago. If that number went to say 5,000 people were getting killed every weekend in Chicago, is there a responsibility of the federal government to step in if the state and local governments are complicit with wanton violence? And if there is, then what's the number that warrants it? If 150 a weekend and warranted, how many thousand have to be shot and killed before it warrants intervention?
So I would probably say no, there isn't a number that warrants it. The city of Chicago is a self-governing entity. It has voters. It has people that vote for, if people aren't happy with the law enforcement in their city, they've got the power and the right to vote against it.
So I guess if within a state, they're not enforcing immigration laws, I guess you should just make Mississippi figure out civil rights on their own.
That's a valid argument. That one I'll take. I will admit that. But first of all, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think the people of Chicago think it's that bad. It's not great to have people murdered, but look at the rate. Look at the rate compared to other places. Look at the rate compared to where it's been in the history. I think that you will find that violence in Chicago is probably not evenly applied and probably does preferentially impact those. Well, for one, it impacts poor people, but it impacts people that are involved in drug trade and other things. I think it's a made-up emergency is what I'm going to tell you. Why Chicago? Why are we picking that? Oh, I can imagine why we're picking that. Because that feels good to people that don't live in Chicago.
Every Democrat run city is a excrement show. Is that where you were going?
What big cities are run by Republicans?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I don't think there are any. So yeah.
no, there aren't any. So yeah, I think that I think that this is a made up problem. I don't think I'm not going to say that 150 people getting killed is fine, but by historical standards and by the way things go, I don't think it's any more of an emergency today than it was a year ago or 6 months ago. It is, however, the same time that the Epstein scandal's going on. So it does sound like an emergency from that angle because he's trying to cover things.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think hopefully consistent that I'm not happy with the Epstein situation, but I just, you know, if more boots on the ground can help law enforcement do their job, and I mean, it's all going to come down to to me, it's all going to come down to the results. And I agree with you on the Doge thing. I was for Doge because, hey, if they make the cuts, hey, good job, you did it. I guess I don't see the inherent harm in it. Now, if they don't produce results and it's just a big waste of money, and I would agree. If it's just a big photo op, then yeah, I think that's a waste. But if they make a measurable impact on the crime rates and can help some of these law enforcement and some of these cities are just overrun. I mean, they probably are, welcoming the help, I would think. The
I'm in
state, the state and
Chicago.
federal, the city local government probably doesn't, but the people running the police force probably are very thankful to have some help.
I'm in Chicago 2 or 3 times a week, or 2 or 3 times a month, and it is. I've never been overrun. I'll just say that
Have you
I'm
ever
not
do
feeling.
you, do you stay 25 miles south of downtown?
No, I don't. And here's what's interesting because you know where they sent the troops in Washington, D.C.? To patrol the National Mall. Thank you, Lord, that we finally got somebody out in front of the Washington Monument stopping the wholesale carnage that was happening on the mall. Oh, are there troops on the other side of the Anacostia River? No, is the answer. No, because it's all a big made up fake emergency, fake intervention, fake photo op bullshit.
We're going to have to fact check you on that one.
Get a heat map of crime, of violent crime in Washington, D.C., and let me know how the National Archives stacks up versus some neighborhood in Southeast.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it could also be that it's about where do you deploy the local folks? I mean, are the local folks having to cover one area in lieu of another? I don't know. I mean, like I said, if there's no change in the numbers, I will agree with you.
So let's talk about numbers. Who are you going to ask what crime statistics look like in Washington, D.C.? Who are you going to ask what crime statistics look like in Chicago? And if you get an answer to the statistics that you reference that you don't like, what do you do with the person who's responsible for providing those
Well,
numbers?
I think I would rely on the new BLS leader myself. That person's got to be safe for a little while.
They're, just like Ghislaine Maxwell blinking pardoned in Morse code. Yeah, yes, crime is down, I promise.
Yeah, I
Like,
didn't make it too far through the 663-page transcript. I texted you that link. You probably didn't get a chance to.
I
It's
didn't
kind of
get
one of these
far.
things. Like I keep searching the news. Like surely somebody read all that crap, and there's no bombshells. So you know,
No, of course there's no bombshells. She she spoke as a condition of getting moved to a minimum security prison and getting pardoned at the end of his term.
yeah,
Like, come on.
stupid.
Okay, Intel. So again, I want to paint a bright line. I am not saying that Trump and the Republicans are acting like the Nazis in the sense of the final solution in the death camps. But you know what worked out really, really well for Hitler was nationalizing big important industries. Intel in the United States today is like IG Farben in Germany in the 1930s. Prove me wrong.
So did Hitler invest in companies? Did he write a check to those companies? Did he buy stock? Is that how he nationalized?
I think that they probably came and offered him gifts just like they do to Trump. Here, why don't you take 10% of our company? We'll just hand it over to you. What in the hell does the United States government have any business owning an equity stake in any company? Period.
Well, you might ask the Obama and Bush administrations post 2008.
They didn't take an equity stake for what it's worth.
Well, I guess my point is I can understand the argument around not wanting to do it, but the U.S. government investing $9 billion in a company is different than the U.S. government seizing $9 billion of a company, which is
The mechanisms may be wrong, but are different. But wow, the outcome's the same. It is a
really
terrible.
The outcome's the same as seizing a company.
Well, you own a 10% shake of Intel. I mean, that's the part
that you paid for.
Like, what the hell are we doing? The Republican Party, the party of capitalism, we're taking at bayonet point. You can say that it wasn't a seizure, but the CEO of the company goes on his knees in the Oval Office. It's the functional equivalent of a seizure. They nominally paid some money for it. That is insane to me. Even
Now,
in
or the fact that Intel is struggling currently, and perhaps the U.S. government sees them as a must succeed company, not far different than the situation with the auto companies.
Yeah, again, things that I think that you don't think matter, but I think do.
They cut 25% of their workforce. And, again, it's about having US based technology. I can see how you could make a case for even a national security element to that as well. So I don't know that it's just a crazy science project. I mean, I get that there's differences of opinion there, but I think saying it's a Hitler-esque move is a little nutty.
Well, again, remember, this is what I'm looking at, and I'm seeing the consistency across these things. I mean, if I'm crazy, I'm crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, but you're conflating a bunch of things and making them all into a Hitler thing. It just seems like a huge stretch.
So if you're in Germany, you're like, well, yeah, I mean, we had the Night of the Long Knives, but that was just that. And then we nationalized the defense industry, but that was just an economic thing.
Did he nationalize the defense industry? He spent $9 billion on stock on a company that the U.S. has a stake in that we see as a strategically important company. That's different than seizing the defense industry. It's different than, okay, you could say like, hey, he has a detention center for immigrants. He's got a concentration camp. He bought, 10% of one company, just like Hitler seized everything else. You could say, well, hey, he bombed Iran. Well, just like Hitler, he bombed other countries. I mean, you could take anything that any president does and say, well, Hitler did that. See, you could take a piece of something, say, well, Obama had a detention center. Well, he had concentration camps. It just seems desperate and not grounded in reality. You can do better. You can do better than this, Kent.
Well, I understand why you think that, but I'm telling you, I don't think these things are unrelated. And it does look to me like democracy is really on the bubble right now. The other thing and this is exactly Hitler-esque, and this really is like Hitler, because Hitler was such a dumbass that he thought that he had Stalin played. And that is exactly where Trump is, because he does not have Putin played. I think Trump is getting completely owned.
So back to it, is he a dumbass or a evil mastermind?
I think he's kind of both. He fancies himself an evil mastermind.
Whatever fits the narrative.
Which of these things do you feel good about? Do you feel good about the troops on the streets? You apparently do. You feel good about the nationalization or just the idea of the United States government taking an equity stake in a company is just That alone, apart from my drama, that's out of that's out of the like that is insane. We bailed out the car companies, whether we should or shouldn't have, I don't know. It was a loan and they paid it back. We bailed out the banks. It was a loan and we paid it back. We didn't nationalize, we didn't take ownership of the banks.
Wait, an ownership.
Well, what is it if it's not ownership? That's how stock works because companies are
Yeah, they
people.
don't own a controlling share. I mean,
I think our country's in a bad spot. I think that the consolidation of power and the willingness to do things. Um, we talked a little bit about the other day, the gerrymandering in Texas. If you think that you're doing the right thing and your policies are supported by people, like why you gotta?
do you want to go down the path of are the Republicans the only ones gerrymandering districts? I mean,
Well,
okay.
no, of course Democrats do it, but like this is like they didn't even bother trying to make it look good. They're like, we can't win the election unless we cheat, so we're going to cheat. Like,
That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it was to fix a gerrymandering overreach by the Democrats previously. But it's all a back and forth struggle because then it's going to happen again by the Democrats.
well, I wish it wouldn't, and I wish they wouldn't do it, but yeah, they're going to do that. It's the whole thing is depressing to me, and the
Well,
worst
I would
part
be
of it.
depressed too if I was, you know, if I was jumping to some of the lengths that you jump to. I feel like, yeah. I mean, I get it. I think I understand you to a degree of like none of this is situationally driven. It's all who you view the man as, and so any situation that occurs is going to go in that bucket that confirms your fear, I would say. Like if I thought a Democrat was in power and he was out to screw everybody, everything that came about would support that hypothesis.
Well,
So it makes sense.
we had a Democrat president for 4 years that was feeble and inept and made a lot of mistakes. Did you feel on a daily basis that Joe Biden was out to destroy the America that you love?
No, not completely, but again, I get that that's how you feel about Donald Trump. I guess my point is, regardless of what he does, it's going to exacerbate that, and you're going to say, it just seems like a self fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. The other thing that I really, really fear, and I fear it for myself, I really fear it for Republicans, unless you really can finish the job that they've started with the gerrymander, with the court packing, with and maybe they can do it and you won't ever have to worry about another Democrat president. If you can get there, you might be fine.
But
But
we're
I don't
not
think
going to, I mean, we're not the only ones doing gerrymandering. So we're going to be victim of that at some point for sure.
so. I want you to think about some of the people that are loud voices in the Democratic Party right now that are beyond what I would support. Imagine a president AOC and a mandate that she's got from people, and think about the tools of power that she's going to have. And these are tools that the aggregation of power among into the presidency. Do you disagree with that? That the last six
No, but
months,
I guess my point though is if she gets in power and she does a bunch of crap I don't agree with, I don't see how that's a decline in democracy. It's democracy in action. And what Trump is doing is democracy in action. People voted for this. Now, he's not doing everything I voted for, but like most of the stuff he's doing, it's because people asked him to do it and they want him to do it. So it's not like that's the part that, and again, it's like, oh, what's he doing? It's not democracy. Well, no, he ran on this crap. He's doing what he ran on.
so you will, when this worm turns and you start going down the kind of policies. Here's the thing. I think you and I maybe disagree with it about this. I agree that he won the election. First of all, I didn't lie and claim that he actually lost the election and this is all a scam and that Biden should have been president for 4 more years. On the authoritarian thing, the entirety of January 6th, And it wasn't the riot. The riot on January 6th wasn't the problem. The problem was Trump trying to circumvent the law and stay in office.
Sounds
But
like democracy prevailed.
thank you, Mike Pence. And what does Mike Pence get out of the deal? But I do believe, honestly, yeah, clearly he won. I don't think people knew. I think they clearly knew some of the worst of what they were buying. I think that they've been deceived. I think that that middle group of voters, there's people like you that were going to vote for a Republican if it was if it was your dog. And, but there's a lot of people in the middle that they're, what, 20%, that's probably the swing amount. They went for Trump. I think that they're finding out that that wasn't, I think that the results of the election were clear and unambiguous. But I don't think the results of the election are an accurate reflection of where people's real beliefs are. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't know that they ever are. I mean, people that voted for Biden didn't vote for Biden. They voted against Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not too many people that are diehard like I want Biden to run the world.
So I guess what I'm saying is that I think that, well, I don't know, maybe it just doesn't matter. I mean, you're right.
Well, my
We'll
thing
get
is
through this.
if he doesn't deliver, and he hasn't delivered on some things, and he pisses everybody off, they're going to vote for the next guy. So I just
Unless the fix is in. I guess this is so thought experiment. Bear with me for a minute. So let's just say that through gerrymandering, through voter suppression, which I think is a huge issue that we haven't talked about at all, disenfranchisement of people. I mean,
I think but that cuts both sides. I could make arguments for that all day long as well. So I guess
who are the Democrats trying to disenfranchise? Honest question. Like,
well, I think there's voter suppression in multiple ways. I think both sides play all angles of the game to their advantage, which is kind of how it's supposed to work.
it's been a truism of the Republican Party for 50 years that you want rain on election day because the fewer people vote, the more likely Republicans are to win.
Well, they tend to favor absentee ballots, but then you had the whole situation during COVID where you did the mail-in ballots, and that was almost an opposite effect. So I guess again, my whole thing about this, like, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, is the fix going to be in and they're going to say, nope, he's going to be in charge forever? One, I don't believe that they're as powerful as you think they are. I think the institutions are more powerful than that. I think you see that now. You see there's checks and balances that occur. Look at well, I can't say the dang word, your Florida detention center that you're concerned about. A federal judge has stopped it. So it's not like infallible. And I think your other issue is I don't think Trump's going to be alive, that honestly. I mean, I know you've been following his health. I mean, he pretty clearly has congestive heart failure. So, I mean, I don't know that he's as big of a long-term threat as you would imagine. And I don't think you're that worried about JD Vance.
No. Well, two responses. That's actually a good point. I don't wish for sickness or death for anybody.
But he's
I
almost
do
80.
but I do believe that. Again, my theory of the case is that a lot of people voted for Trump because it was a protest vote. They voted to roll a hand grenade into Washington. And I think a lot of things that are happening now are not at all in their interests. And I think that that's going to come back. The problem is, how long does it take for it to catch up? Tariffs,
but it's the
by
same,
the way.
But it's that same issue with Biden. I mean, you had all these protest voters for Biden, and they didn't get what they paid for with Biden either. And so then they all went to Trump. I think some of that yo-yo just happens.
But I do think that Trump was uniquely charismatic and uniquely able to, and I would say sell people a bill of goods, that he was the big change agent. I don't think JD Vance has the same kind of, is not going to inspire the same kind of, which is not to say that he's not a threat, but that almost makes me more nervous, Kyle, to tell you the truth, because, I mean, people do support Trump. It baffles me, but people do support Trump. But now we've kind of broken the seal. I think you don't agree that this is a difference, but I think it is. The sending the FBI to raid Bolton's home and other people. Like if we're gonna do the authoritarian thing and you're JD Vance and you're not popular, well, you don't have the ability to just go to the populace and say, I'm doing it for you. You're only left with dirty tricks. And we don't seem to have any like consequence or pushback from using dirty tricks.
I mean,
That worries me almost more.
Obama and what we're learning about Crossfire Hurricane, obviously it worked in that degree as well of going after your political enemies. So it's not.
I don't even know what that is.
You haven't seen the releases the Justice Department's made on the origins of the Trump Russia bit, and the
No.
there's a lot of evidence that Obama was well aware of the investigation and the fact that it was based on a Democrat hit piece from Hillary Clinton's campaign. So it's pretty well known that multiple administration officials are like, okay, this is our ticket. I don't know. I don't necessarily.
I don't know that that's not true. And I mean, I'm saying I wouldn't argue with that. And in fact, the fact that that my side does stupid, wrong things doesn't make me feel better, right? I think that the prosecutions of Trump, look, I think he's a scumbag and I think he's guilty of everything they accused him of. I think it was not smart to go after him with the prosecution. The prosecution handed him the election almost as much as Biden did. Yeah. And so like just because my side's wrong doesn't mean that I don't get to like be worried about where we're at.
I don't particularly like that either, but I think I don't think it's unique to Trump or other administrations going after one another's political parties. I mean, there was a lot of people going after Clinton for how long did they go after him for? What the hell was that? What was the savings and loan, Whitewater and all that,
Yeah.
Although my favorite part of the Whitewater was the one guy, we were talking about mysterious deaths with Epstein. Who's the one guy with the Whitewater thing? And he died
Vince
by
Foster.
Suicide with a gunshot to the back of the head.
Vince Foster.
Kind of hard to get that thing back there, but
last of my bullet points, tariffs. Now this is not a Nazi thing per se, but in terms of the bad ideas, news this week that John Deere is in a world of hurt. They're losing a bunch of money and they're laying a bunch of people off in Iowa because of the tariffs.
Yeah, I'm not a super big proponent of tariffs now. I don't know. I mean, I like the idea of trying to get better deals, but I wish they would get better deals faster. And I think there have been some good deals, but yeah, it's certainly disruptive.
Well, I think that would be my biggest critique. I don't know if there are probably plenty of cases where a strategic or a rifle shot tariff makes sense to help balance the scales in certain industries. The shotgun approach and then the capriciousness of it. Now, the good news is that if you're a congressperson and you're an insider trader, the taco trade has been really good for a lot of people. I'm just not optimistic enough to play the taco game.
There's a Twitter, is it Twitter or there's some feed that tracks Nancy Pelosi's trades. And it is like the best track record of trading.
And there's nothing illegal about it. That's something that they ought to make.
Yeah, I was
illegal on day one.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast about it, and there's no there are no laws against insider trading for congressmen. How is that possible?
I don't know. It's not but who would make the law?
Right.
For all of my screed tonight, and first of all, I want to thank you for being patient and measured in your response to me. If I think about it, I get depressed. My strategy is I just don't think about it and I focus on other stuff, but it does worry me. And And I know it sounds insane to you, but I think I told you I'm reading this book about it covers a lot of things, but it talks about history and it talks about, all history is viewed from looking back, right? You already know how the game plays out. And
Is
when you
this his
talk
book,
about
The Cycle book?
no, it's a different book.
I'm not that far into it, but you know what I'm talking about? The guy that says it
Yeah.
changed.
The fourth turning is here, and I'll remember the guy's name. Uh, this is really interesting. Oh, so check this out. That book, like talk about strange bedfellows. Steve Bannon is a big fan of that hypothesis.
I don't know. That guy, it's like listening to you tonight. No offense. But like I just felt like, my criticism to you is I felt like you're stringing together these doom and gloom, these various factors and kind of stringing them together in a really doom and gloom sort of way. And that's what I found with that book I'm reading. The guy's like, well, then this happened, then this happened. Well, then there you go. I'm like, well, okay.
The thing that this concerns, if somebody wants to look it up, is the Strauss-Howe generational theory, devised by William Strauss and Neil Howe. It is a psychohistorical theory that describes a recurring generation cycle in American and Western history. I think it's really cool, and it
Oh,
it, it helps a lot. And in part, it helps because if you don't want to read the book, read the Wikipedia article on Strauss-Howe generational theory. It's kind of the good Cliff's Notes version. The other book I'm reading about is this. It's about probability and statistics and about this guy's a Wall Street trader, and he's like, you know, most people do average. People get lucky for a short string, then people think that they're brilliant, then they invest with them, then the money tanks. And so, like there's really not any brilliance there is kind of the guy's point. But the fact that you always are looking back and you tend to rewrite history to kind of suit how it all turned out. And when I get in this depressed state, and I freely admit that that's where I'm at, I think the reason I called it, when I keep throwing the Nazi thing out there, I just want to say again, I know any of it's going to sound stupid to you, but I'm not talking about Nazis 1944. I'm talking about Nazis 1936 and the things that happen. And it might just be that it's an equal string of coincidence. I'm not trying to equate the outcome of today with the outcome of then, but the Weimar Republic in Germany was a weak, but it was a constitutional republic. And it got co opted by a bad guy who had his own axe to grind. And he exploited the weakness of the populace, the weakness of the voters, the weakness of the institutions to take over. That's the part of this that I'm speaking to. I just want to paint that clear. I'm like, hey, it's
well,
just like Hitler.
I guess I just want to encourage you in your depression in a couple of ways. One, in that while I disagree with you, I wouldn't say you're crazy. I can understand why you have the feelings that you do. I can validate that it makes sense based on your perspective, based on your viewpoint, why you think that. When AOC is president, you're going to hear me complaining up and down about how she's, I don't know what'll be her comparison, Mao or who is the comparison that she will have. But that's what I would say for one. Number two, I would say this pendulum's going the other way. It always does. He already has shown he's not delivering on things that I want him to deliver on. He's probably not going to deliver on everything. Whatever the pendulum is on the right, it's going to swing to the left. So it's coming your way, catch. And number three, I would say, I guess the thing I would argue with you about your historical comparison and in a way that's meant to encourage you is I think our institutions are strong. Yeah, we have people that try to sway things, but this republic has lasted, 200 plus years, and it's much stronger than probably any other country in the world from an institutional standpoint. So, yeah, will there be threats? Will there be challenges? Sure, but I think it's going to survive, and I think I'll be I'll be yelling at you and bitching up and down, and you're going to have to talk me off the ledge at some point.
Well, that's a good reminder, and I accept that, and I appreciate the gentle way in which you've delivered that. I guess I don't want the pendulum swinging that wide. I want a pendulum that swings between sort of low tax pro business policy that's a little more conservative that I want, to a little bit more weak on things and a little bit more social than I think we can afford. That's the boundaries I want to swing in. I don't want to swing in a boundary between freaking troops in the streets. And I guess I'm just a centrist because I am equally fearful if the pendulum swings, as I think it will, if it swings as far the other way, then a lot of stuff's going to happen that's beyond what I want to see. And I don't think that's good for America.
How much do you think the distance of the swing is related to the speed of information? You know, when everybody relied on two newspapers and one evening broadcast for their news, was, you know, I just wonder, like, how much of that is based on the fact that you've got rapidly changing information nonstop all day, every day.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that
We took
leading to the polarization? Like, do we know too much?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It feels like an accelerant to me, it feels like a small smoldering fire that, well, you don't want to get burned and, you got to be careful. And like we're dumping propane on the thing, is
Yeah.
what it feels like to me. The amplitude of that pendulum swing. I think that's dangerous. And the other thing is, beside my funk that I'm in, I do think, and I this is a nice shakeup from us both being outraged by the Epstein thing for a little while. But I will tell you that one of the things that felt good when we were as aligned on those conversations about the Epstein stuff, and hopefully we can get there again, is like ultimately Trump and the Republicans aren't my problem. Institutionalized politicians and a government class that doesn't have my interest at stake, that's my problem. The
Yeah.
manifestation of that bothers me is the Trump conservative side, but I promise you, you will be. I don't know when. If the fix is in and we can kick the can down the road, maybe you'll be an old man, but there's going to be a day when it's going to be something that you don't like. And if the weaponization, if the tools of that experience are like on the trajectory that we're on, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad for you. It's going to be bad for the country. It's not good for us to. This is one of the things that, and again, I know I'm just about rhetoric, but the way Trump talks about Democrats, like we're out to ruin the country, very specific and very consistent about the way that he characterizes that. Look, Republicans aren't my enemy. Like Russia's my enemy. Apparently, Russia's
Well,
not his
I
enemy.
think but I think you're a sane and reasonable individual. I certainly wouldn't say that others on the left are that measured. Most on the left are saying, all these people on the right are a bunch of deplorable Hitler-loving Nazis. I mean, if everybody had your viewpoint, I think we'd be a lot better off.
Well, I just think that my enemies are not my fellow Americans. Even when I think my fellow Americans are out of their minds, when I think my fellow Americans have their head in the sand, and they are ignoring potent present threats to our democracy, my fellow Americans aren't my problem.
Yeah.
My problem is China. My problem is Russia. My problem is, that's the enemy. My anarchy is my enemy,
Yeah.
not
Right.
lawful voters of the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Well, that fixes it all.
Yeah. All right. We're good.
Now, I got to say, thank you for hearing me out on this and for not reacting badly and inflammatory. I
Well, I
don't
thought
like to think this way. It's just hard.
Well, I disagree with you, but as always, your opinions are well thought out. You can't say, like, you're not one of these people they video on the street at the right and the left both will interview these people at these protests and stuff that are like, they're not even in touch with the reality. I mean, everything you're saying is based on fact, earnest viewpoints. And that's, like if you can't have a reasonable dialogue when people are like earnestly thinking about us, like we ought to be able to talk civilly about that. I think where people, it goes down another path is when people go on both sides, go off the rails into la la land.
Yeah. And that political class that's my ultimate, I won't say enemy, but certainly my adversary to sanity in this country is that political class that's entrenched. It scares me because they've realized that this shit sells.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrifying to me.
Yeah.
So I want to not take the bait on my side, and I want to push back.
Same here.
Hey, thanks for joining us on this episode of Bourbon and Rum Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember to subscribe on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us keep the good spirits flowing.
And we invite you to join this conversation. Follow us on our Facebook page. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to hear.
And until next time, cheers.